Breaking news for you. We're standing by right now to potentially hear a brand new direct message from Donald Trump before he heads in court for the third day of his historic criminal trial. Moments ago, he arrived at the courthouse, as you heard from John. And if the first 2 days are any indicator, he will likely stop before cameras and say something. But it is something he's already said, rather posted, that's raising serious legal alarm this morning. Will the judge admonish him again?
Joining us now on this is CNN senior legal analyst, former assistant U.S. attorney for the Southern District of New York, Ellie Honig, and criminal defense attorney and former federal prosecutor Seth Waxman. It's good to see you guys. Ellie, let's start with the social media post that Kara Scannell was just laying out. How close to the line did he get? Do you think it's a violation of the gag order?
I do think it's a violation, Kate. I think it's over the line. If Donald Trump had simply typed out what he typed out, but not put quotation marks around it and attributed it to Jesse Waters, it would be a straight down the middle, flagrant violation of the gag order. And I don't think Donald Trump's going to be able to convince the judge that he can get around it simply by attributing it to somebody else or taking something that somebody else said and reposting it. And I want to note this, Kate. There are a few different classes of people, groups of people who are protected by this gag order. There's witnesses, there's court clerks, there's family members, but the jurors are the most important, the most sensitive, need to be protected above all else.
Because the concern always is jury, any kind of intimidation or perception of intimidation, all of that wrapped into that. Seth, you and I talked about this, not this exact social media post, but the idea of on Tuesday, it's obviously up to the judge to decide what penalty, if any, to enforce. Realistically, what do you think could happen here?
Well, certainly he can start off by fining Donald Trump and continuing to increase those fines if the violations continue. As you and I last talked, you know, the remedy of incarcerating him could be out there. I don't think that's likely, but he has a whole host of other tools. For example, he could tell Donald Trump, look, you have a Sixth Amendment right to be here, to confront witnesses against you, but that's not absolute. And if you continue down this path, I will remove you from this courtroom. And then if you continue posting on social media, you know, I can confine you to your house, I can put an ankle bracelet on you, and ultimately I can take away your social media. I can take away your internet access. So, you know, that would be many steps down the road, but this judge is going to have to do something to try to constrain Donald Trump to make sure he's following the judge's rules.
Ellie, let's talk about what's going to start back up today. Jury selection's resuming very soon. A brand new panel of potential jurors about to walk in. How are they going to narrow down this pool of prospective jurors to fill these last 5 spots? What do you think?
So, Kate, here's how the process is going to go today. The judge is starting with a brand new panel of 96 potential jurors. And the first 2 questions he's going to ask are, A, do any of you have a hardship, a job-related issue that prevents you from serving as a juror? And B, are any of you so biased, for or against either side in this case, that you just don't think you could be fair? And what the judge did the first time, and he's going to do again, is essentially anyone who raises their hand in response to either of those questions, you're out, no questions asked. And last time, that cut the pool by more than half. They lost 50 people. Whoever remains after that, they'll then go through the questionnaire, the 42 questions that we see. We see some samples here up on the screen. After that, the judge will decide if they can stay on the jury based on their impartiality. And then after that, the parties will get to exercise what we call their peremptory challenges, meaning they can remove certain jurors they don't like for any reasons other than racially discriminatory reasons. Each side has 4 of those challenges left, and we'll see what this yields. Last time it yielded 7. If we get another 7 more out of this pool, we'll have 14. We need 12 plus up to 6 alternates, so we could get pretty close to that number at the end of this particular process.
And Seth, with 4 peremptory strikes left on either side, if you're at the counsel's table and you can pick either side if you'd like, how do you plan to use these strikes when you're down to 4?
Yeah, it's a chess game. I mean, you're sitting there holding back some strikes to make sure that if some juror at the end of the whole pool process, you know, is still there and has not been struck for cause and is against your side, you want to have something in your back pocket to make sure that that one bad juror in your mind doesn't get on that jury to try this case. So it's a game of chess, and it's an art, not a science.
So, Ellie, the prosecutors have also revealed some of what they would be bringing up while potentially cross-examining Trump. That is the big if he would take the stand. It's things like recent verdicts against him, where he was found liable for a variety of things, and how he was fined for violating a court order by publicly attacking a judge's law clerk in another case. Does a list like this, as I'm painting it in broad strokes, do you think it makes it more or less likely, if the defense team knows about it, that Trump would actually take the stand?
Well, less likely for sure. I think we were already pretty close to 0.0, and I think this will make it even less likely than that, if that's mathematically possible here. The purpose of this filing yesterday is to warn a defendant. It's a standard filing in New York State Court, and what it says essentially is if you choose to take the stand, you have that right. We will, of course, cross-examine you about what we believe, prosecutors believe, is your guilt in this case, but also we're going to ask you about these outside things that we believe bear on your truthfulness and credibility. Now, the judge has to review these all. He has to vet them all. But to take one example, the fact that Trump was just found liable for the civil fraud, for inflating the assets, I think the judge is likely to look at that and say, sure, that bears on your credibility. So Donald Trump and his lawyers are going to have to make a complicated and high-stakes decision when the time comes, whether he's going to testify, but I'm not holding my breath.
But I do love your legal math. It's good to see you guys. Thank you so much. John, I was told there's never math on the show, so I don't know what we do now.
I was told there would be no math.